So that's
Thank
great.
you.
Yeah, and I think that's our last meetup in August. Or we did in one in
Yes.
September, I guess.
Well, I was checking the channel. I maybe I didn't get the notification or something. The Meetup channel, I followed that, and I was in that pretty much.
Yeah, I know. Like since past 3 months, I know we haven't organized any because since I got married, we haven't organized any event.
Okay.
A big reason for no show.
Yeah. So
Congratulations.
thank you.
Yeah, congratulations, Sarab.
Thank you. So it's been 3 months now, and now I can come back to the normal routine. So let me see in our meetup.com page. Yeah, that's the last event in August 8th.
Yep.
DynamoDB. And yeah, so like since then I am having more interest towards AWS. So that's the reason I also am exploring AWS Amplify. Prior to that, I worked in MongoDB. I work in Firebase real-time database, but I haven't used DynamoDB. So yeah, after that session, I keep looking into other tools, and then I found this Amplify, and I found it really great.
Can you paste the link for the Meetup group page so that you can directly track for the upcoming events
Yeah, sure.
on the chat?
So is that your name, Ish, or it's a
Yeah.
short form? Okay. And
My first name is Ish. Full name is Ish Kumar Kapila.
Ish Kumar Kapila. And this is your first time you're joining Devtalks meetup?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So do you mind sharing a brief introduction of you?
Yeah. Sure. I have around 13 years of experience, and currently I am working as a DevOps engineer in TSYS, Noida.
Okay.
And was just going through some ongoing webinars or something events online where I landed up with this link. So I thought of joining it, and it's like I have been working in AWS, but AWS Amplify is something new for me. So
Right.
hope to learn something new today.
Yeah, definitely. So I shared the links of our meetup group and of our website as well, but don't look at our website, just check the meetup group. So we are working on that, and that is a work in progress since last 100 years.
Okay.
Hey Rishabh. Hey Ishan.
Hey Sarab, how are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Hey Rishabh, long time.
Hey Tarun, yeah.
Congrats for the Kia.
Thank you. Sarab को बोलो यार, he has double parties.
Great. हाँ सरब को बोल चुके हैं already.
चलो ऋषभ, ये तूने क्या किया?
Yeah. Okay, इस बार मैंने लैपटॉप से ज्वाइन कर लिया.
I think we should wait for 5 more minutes, Sarab. I think people are still joining.
Yep.
At 11:10 we will start, right?
Yep. And since then, like, let me ask a couple of questions. How many of you already know AWS Amplify?
When we just heard about it, like as far as I'm concerned, I've just heard about the term, worked with AWS Lambda and stuff, but never came across Amplify yet.
Right. Okay. That's a perfect place to give a session at the beginner level.
Yes.
So I worked in Firebase. I worked with Netlify. So like when I first see the Netlify, so like After that, I start using that only for all of my projects. So because it's giving that continuous deployment support out of the box, so it's just catch all of your commits, and it's also give you the PR reviews. And since then, after that, when I get into Amplify, it's more than that. It's give us a lot of other options as well.
Haven't exactly worked through the Amplify, but I've heard about it. And yeah, basically I've seen it, but never got the chance to actually use it. Maybe वो Netlify वाला बंदा ना, just 2 minute में deploy करो काम खत्म.
Yeah.
Netlify के बाद तो GitHub pages पे भी deploy करने का मन नहीं है.
Yeah.
मतलब like कौन continuous बनाए उसे?
Basically. So there was a time when we used to, like the FileZilla होता था, वहाँ से फाइलें ट्रांसफर करके करते थे. Then
I remember that.
then move into GitHub pages and Firebase hosting,
Yeah,
and Netlify just changed that game completely.
true. Netlify changed that by a lot. और भी बहुत आए यार, Heroku वगैरह भी आए, but they couldn't catch the market share.
Yeah, there's one more, Zest, I guess.
Just not.sh.
Yeah. So I'm not sure what's your name. It's Blockchain Made Easy. So yeah, let's we will start in 11:10 exactly.
2 minutes to talk more.
Yeah. So this is basically an an open group. So literally we know each other by name, and we met also in our physical meetup. So that's why we just encouraging the latecomers to come in, so that we can get some time to interact with each other.
That's true.
So Sarab, are you guys all mostly Chandigarh based? Because I was just going through the group page.
Yep. So we are Chandigarh based, and previously we are just running this community in Chandigarh only. But since I can say this pandemic give us an opportunity to go, more than that. Now we have online meetups, so we can just anyone from the India and from everywhere from world can join us. So yeah.
Okay. Actually, it catches my eye because I myself is from Chandigarh. I'm in Mohali right now.
Okay. Yeah, previously we have we running Rect Chandigarh, so that is specific to Rect and Chandigarh. So then we move it to Devtalks India, so that we can cover topics like this and many more.
So may I know like which companies are you guys are working in Chandigarh?
We all are different. We all are working in different companies. Some are freelancers also. I know Rajat, I know Pintu, and yeah, these two people are from my company, You Create.
Yes.
Okay, so shall we start then, Tarun?
Yes, please. Yes, you can start.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to disable my camera because I shared my another laptop, so I'm going to see on that most of the time. Okay.
And we'll be looking at the side post.
Yeah. So let me know when you guys able to see my screen.
We can see.
Yeah.
Okay, so during the session, if you guys have any questions, you can just ask in the chat and we will go through that. Okay, so hello everyone, my name is Sarabjeet and I am working as a software engineer, having 10 years of experience, mostly work in JavaScript. And I keep looking to how we can improve the software development processes so that we can go from developing softwares to go into the market and go to the users fast. So while researching on that, I came across this tool AWS Amplify, and it does that all, and it does it very well. So let's go into the presentation. Oops. Okay, so let's go into their website first. So for some of their description, So according to their Wikipedia description, it is a set of tools and services that we can use together to help our front-end and mobile development and build full stack web application. So what are those tools and what are those services? We will discuss that. So it provides all of, because it's made by AWS, and we know most of the major websites heavily depends on AWS for their services, and we all in our career to some point we came across to some of AWS services like EC2, S3 bucket to save our data, and if they made this tool, so we can get that it will have access to all of the services as well. So this AWS Amplify give us the authentication, hosting, storage, cloud function, and GraphQL APIs out of the box. So in our web application we can just integrate that very easily. We don't need to go into the console and set up things there. For authentication, it use AWS other service which is Cognito, and we can implement login, sign up with that, and it provide the hosting so that we don't need to go into other tools that we are just discussing like Firebase, GitHub Pages, Netlify or other. And it also provide support to storage, the S3 bucket out of the box. We will just get to that, how we can implement this. And cloud functions, as Rajat was mentioning earlier, it's Lambda function, so you can create them right away inside Amplify using its CLI tool. And also it supports the GraphQL API, so we can create database. It uses DynamoDB to connect it with that, and it also use AppSync to create the GraphQL APIs. Okay, and what's the other thing is really fascinating about Amplify is its support to web and mobile major platforms. So it support React.js, Angular, Vue.js, and many more front-end frameworks. And also it support mobile, React Native, Flutter, Ionic, Android, and iOS native applications as well. So whatever platform we are building for, it support all of them. Okay, so for that we just need one thing, which is AWS account. And let's jump into our console. And here we need to go into AWS Amplify. So I previously deployed 2 apps over here, and for this session I'm going to deploy our Devtalks website here once again. So this is our Devtalks website, which is currently hosted on GCP. So I'm going to take its source code from GitHub. So this is a GitHub repo. This is all front-end code, React.js code, and for this demo I'm just going to use this one. And I already cloned it here inside this directory. And to start using with AWS Amplify, to create a new app here and connect it with this AWS console, it recommended to use it via CLI. So it provide us a command line interface, and to install that, this is the command npm install -g AWS Amplify CLI. You just need to run that on your command panel. I already have it installed, and after that it give us bunch of command to add all of the services that we just discussed in our previous slide. I think I'm in edit mode. Yeah, so all of these services we can just add using this CLI commands. So we will go all of them one by one. So first of all we need to install it. Let me copy this. Okay, so it will install the latest version of Amplify CLI in my system, but I'm just stopping it because I already have it. So let's see. or let me do Amplify version. It will show me the current version of it. It's 4.41. I have it installed. And next thing, you need to initialize a new Amplify app inside your repo. Oops, not in Excel. Okay, so when you run this command amplify init, it asks you a bunch of questions to set up your application. So first of all, you need to give a name of your project. I'm giving Devtalks India, that's fine. Then you need to create an environment, and this is a backend environment. So it also support different environments so that we can deploy dev, staging, production all in this one place. So I'm choosing, we can just give it any name, so it's dev. Then you need to choose your visual core editor. I use VS Code. Yeah, so these are the languages it's supporting. So I am building for JavaScript. And then these are the framework of front-end framework. It support Angular, Ember, Ionic, React Native, Vue. So our platform is React. We need to define this because based on that it has the build config, so it detects which folder to build and all. Build, so the build command, start command. Okay, so you can see after all of this, it triggers a AWS CloudFormation template, and we do not need to take care of that. It do that behind the scene. It create a AWS CloudFormation YML file on our AWS account and put the template inside our directory, which we can look into after this. But we do not need to manage those stuff ourselves. Amplify do it for us. Okay, do you want to use an AWS profile? No. Then you need to provide your access ID and secret access key for your AWS user. If you are already worked with AWS, you must be aware of what it is. Select the region. Okay, and once it's done, now it is initializing this app into the cloud. So now based on our previous settings, it creates a template and all. Now it is pushing that to the server. So you can see these are the resources it is creating for AWS, and that's the really great thing I found about it. So you do not need to manage anything about that. So you just focus on doing your code, and yeah, that's it. And just do the code, push it to GitHub, and it will take it from there and deploy it to your website. And also if you need any API, so you just tell it the model and it will create the API with AppSync, create the database for you, and yeah, that's it you need to do. So you can see it created this project successfully in the cloud. Let's go back to AWS, and you can see this is the app here. And we only create the backend. So this backend dev is deployed. There is nothing we added as of yet, and there is no front end. So we can do either we can run command amplify add hosting, which will add a hosting, or we can just do it from here. Select GitHub, and we can just choose our repository and branch to link it with our app. This is Devtalks, and then the master branch. This is a YML file it creates because it already had a template. You can just review it, and if you want to edit something, you can add it, but it seems fine to me. Next, and that's it. Okay, so within a 5 to 7 minutes of config, we deployed our application to AWS Amplify. Now it will bundle it up and deploy it, and you can see these are the steps. It started creating the build. Meanwhile, we go into their documentation to see what are the other options we have. No, Amplify. So these are the tools and services it supports. We can see it supports authentication, API. We can either create GraphQL or REST. I use GraphQL most of the time. We can use S3 buckets, interaction, PubSub, data store, functions, analytics, AI, ML, push notifications. This is for mobile, definitely, and a lot of other tools. So these all are AWS different services bundled up with Amplify. And it's also provide us an admin UI, so you do not need to worry about and creating the dashboards for your admins. So it will give you that out of the box. Okay, so meanwhile it's building that up. Let us add authentication in this application. So for that we need to run command amplify add auth. So this will be added via using Amazon Cognito, and we want to use default configuration. If we want to use enable Facebook, Google sign in, we can use the social provider. For this demo, I'm just going to use default configuration. I want my user to log in with username, and yeah, that's done. Or I can do additional settings, but for now this is enough. And I'm recommending to go through others as well. As you can see the warning in the top, you will not be able to edit these settings again. And I fall into this trap. I deployed an application and later on I want to add more fields like first name and last name, and I cannot do that anymore. So I need to come back here, delete the auth, and again add to it. So just make sure whenever you are setting it up, so check the additional settings as well. So there are so many attributes. Okay, so it's being added. So let's run the command amplify status. And apart from these services, we also have this amplify status, amplify pull, amplify push, similar to GitHub commands. So that pull and push is used for deploy our backend code, not the front end code. Front end code we already set up the continuous deployment using GitHub. So you can see it added an auth. This is the resource name, and this is it created only on our local system. So we can go inside the code to see that this is my code previously, and this is what it does. It created an amplified directory, and here it managed all of that YML templates for CloudFormation and the settings it required to create the resources at the backend. So in this amplify, it has the backend code where we created our authentication, and our API stuff will go here. So next thing what we are going to do is add an API, which I really like about it, amplify. So adding an API is very straightforward. You just need to hit this command, select some settings, and it will create all of the resources for you, creating DynamoDB and creating AppSync. So you have the two options, GraphQL or REST. I'm going to use GraphQL, and I want to create an API for events on our website, and then we can choose the authentication method, how we want to authenticate. So I'm going to use the Amazon Cognito user pool because this is what we used. We have option to use OpenID Connect and IAM users as well, and that's it. Do you have a schema? No, I do not have a schema already. And it provided me three schemas. So one is simple to do without relation, then one to many relation blocks, then blocks will have post, and post will have comments. or it also provide with access control. So I'm going to choose the basic one, to do. And there you go, you just added one more API in your project. Do you want to add this schema now? No. Okay, so that's done. Now you can see it's added a new folder inside the backend, which is API. We can go inside that, and then this is our GraphQL schema. Okay, so this is our schema. So based on this schema, it creates some resource and create a database and DynamoDB with these columns and fields, and it provides us some decorators to create this model and add some authentication to it. And those models are this. So for GraphQL decorators, we have model, which is to create a new models inside our DynamoDB, and then we can use @auth decorator to protect it with authentication. So we can just protect it by read and write access with different groups. And then we have a connection decorator, which is basically creating connection between two models. So let's say to do, and I have to do comments. So I can have a to do inside this, which will be connecting to the to do task, and the same will go here. Okay, so with using this, we can able to make connection between two models. And then we have searchable decorator, which is to implement Elasticsearch inside our database. So I'm just going to remove this for now, as we are just focusing on one simple DB. So that's it. And now this all resources are added locally, nothing is pushed to the in a cloud yet. So you can see everything is here, and how we can able to implement this in our front end, and also how we can test this. So for that, it provide another utility built inside Amplify, which is mock. So if I run amplify mock command, it will not deploy anything to the cloud, everything is in local, and it will create a mock server where we can try running our queries and mutations for our database. Okay, so it said we need to push auth to make it work. Okay, so now it will push the authentication to the cloud first, and meanwhile let's see where is our deployment reached. Okay, so its build is completed. Let's see. Okay, so you can see our website is being hosted over here, and inside this we have other options that other tools also provide, like domain management. So this is a random string, random URL it created. We can change that, we can change the build settings, we can able to add environment variables, and lot many other stuff. And if we go into backend, so you can see it shows deployment in progress, whatever we are deploying, and the services that we added, auth, API, they will be listed over here. This is going to take some time, so let's see if we have some questions. Hey guys, if you have any questions so far, you can just ask it. No questions. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, we got a question from Ishan, which is Amplify is a kind of CMS and CD tool. Yeah, and it's more of that. So we can also use the S3 storage bucket also along with that, and we can create the Lambda function. So for example, when a new user sign in and we want to add them to some specific group and we want to perform some actions, so we can write Lambda functions for that as well. So yeah, it is a CMS, a CI/CD tool, a hosting service, a storage service, and a lot more.
So kind of complete replacement for backend, right?
Yep.
So have you faced any problem as of yet? Like any limitation of this?
No, like initially I face a few problems, like I mentioned when I'm setting up the authentication. So is that when we create a Cognito user pool initially, so then we cannot edit that. So I created initially only with email, so then I'm not able to add first name, last name, profile picture, those attributes inside that, but nothing as such. So these apps are production ready, and yeah. Okay, so this is done. So it deployed, let's see, it created a bunch of resources in the cloud, and we can in our CMS in our console we can go here inside Cognito to see that. So if you guys already not aware of what is Cognito, so this is used for authentication, auth you can say basically. And which one we created? Devtalks India, this one I guess. So it created this user pool with the settings we selected. There would be no user at the moment. Okay, so now after that it asking us to it need to generate some GraphQL code. So we need to select what language we are using. I'm using JavaScript at the moment. Where should it create the mutations? Yes, RC GraphQL. You can select the directory over here. I'm good with that. All the possible, yes. Nested 2, it's fine. Okay, and it started the server over here. Let's see. Okay, so this is our GraphQL server is running on our local, and if we go to our code, it creates some boilerplate code inside src GraphQL. Here are the mutations, queries, and subscriptions it created already, so you can see that. And based on that, this is our application. Let's try to create some mutations here. So I'm going to create to do name Amplify introduction. Okay, that's fine. Create, done. Create authentication. Okay, we got 2. Now let's create some query to query that. I'm going to delete the previous one. I'm going to use list to do, and I want to return the ID and name. Okay, so you can see it return us this 2. I create authentication and amplify introduction. So you can see it's really very straightforward to creating an API with that. And if I go into DynamoDB here, let's see, because we haven't pushed it yet, so it shouldn't be creating a resource in DynamoDB at the moment. yeah, it haven't created any. So let's go back and push this GraphQL to our server with the command amplify push. And also the previous push is done, so go back to our console, amplify, and this is our website. And you can see in the backend environment it displaying the two options that we added, authentication one, and if I click on that, it give me all of the information here. So I can able to go in the Cognito and manage the users, and it gives the name of that resource. Yeah, this is, and this is for federated entries like for Facebook, Google, and all of that stuff. And if we want to edit it, so with this we can like if we set it up in a different application, because at the moment I am in the same directory, so I do not need to pull anything. To update your GraphQL code, yeah, additional subscriptions, yes. Okay, so now it will upload all of the resources in the cloud. And you can see API content is not here as of now because we haven't pushed it. We pushed only the authentication. And when we add storage, so that information also show up over here, and Lambda functions will come over here. And also, if you guys are seeing this one, this is the Backend Admin Ui. So this is we can create for admins to manage user and all from a different admin panel itself. And this is also creating this out of the box like CMS. And if we want to set up multiple environments, so this is the master branch one environment, and then we can add more environments here. If I click on connect branch, and I can choose another branch like for staging environment or something, so it will create another instance and deploy it over there. And also we can enable previews like Netlify, which is somewhere here. Yeah, here it is. So we can enable previews, so whenever someone create a PR for your repo, so it will deploy that to a different URL, so you can review the changes before merging it to your original, the similar like how Netlify do. This is also explaining the same over here. You create a branch, add commits, open a PR, and it will deploy it into a different URL. So if you enable it, it will work like that. And I'm using it from like past 3-4 months, and I deployed 1-2 applications, as you can see. So those are running in production. Okay, great. Now we have our endpoint set up, everything is deployed. Let's go back into the backend environment and see if we get something here. Okay, so you can see now we have all of the details of that. GraphQL APIs are deployed in AppSync. Data source is a to-do table inside DynamoDB. Let's go and see. Okay, so it's created this data table for us and all of the information based on the model we created. And it doesn't have any items as of now because we haven't created any. Okay, so this is how we create an API in that, and when we have to use it inside our application, so for that also it provide some utilities for React.js, Angular, Ionic, for everything. And for our React application, it provide us AWS Amplify. I'm sure I don't have it previously. So let's go ahead and install it. npm install AWS Amplify. This is a package that we need to implement in our project, and then it also have some utility packages for specific for React or Angular. So it has some components for implementing auth and all. So once we have that, to make an API call, what we need to do is we need to implement import API to make an API call, and then GraphQL, because we are using GraphQL APIs. If we are using REST, so we will import REST in that case. And let's use effect API dot GraphQL it's GraphQL Operations, I believe. Operations, or no, it's GraphQL Operations here, and it should be GraphQL so inside this we will use GraphQL. Okay, as it is installed, let's try now. Should give us some hint. Why it's not giving any hint over here? Yeah, it's come up. Okay, so GraphQL Operations, and then what operation we want to perform. So in our case, we have list to do. So first I will import that from our mutations, from our queries, sorry, which will be inside GraphQL and queries list to do's. Okay, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I will create a different function for that. Const fetch to do's. It will be an async function. And wait equal to, and for now I'm just consoling the data from API, and there should be no data as of now. Data. Let's just console this one. And I haven't running this in my local, so let's run this in local first. Okay, meantime it's creating, we will write some more boilerplate code. So whenever this component load, I will just create some to-dos, GraphQL Operations, and for that I will use create to-do from mutations, and we need to pass some data to it. Give name, introduce amplify, one more, introduce amplify auth. Okay, let's see if it is run or it will throw any error. Okay, we got our error, which is no credentials. Okay, we need to set up the Amplify app here first in our project. Oh, how can I miss that? So in our src, it creates one more file. AWS export will have all of the information, and we need to give it to our Amplify, and also we need to give the credentials. So if you are already using AWS CLI, so you can just fetch it from there, or else you can just yeah, it's better to pass it from there. So let me fetch that setting. Okay, so that I'm going to do in my index.js file. Okay, so we need to configure the Amplify with these settings. I hope this will solve the issue, or else we need to pass the access key ID as well. Fetch to do is assigned a value but never used. Okay, no worries. Let make an API call. Yeah, it make an API call to events, but this is the different one, not ours. Let me go back into the code. I call this one. That's interesting. Why it's not making an API call? Okay, because there's no user at the moment. I need to log in there first, then only it can make a but I haven't used auth, so it should return something to me. Consider it API GraphQL data from API. Let me put this into a try catch so we can see is it coming directly from there or somewhere else. Console.log fetching error. Oops. Yeah, so it's coming from here. So we need to create some user incognito, and then it will start fetching the data from the database. So I was thinking of doing cognito in a different session, but yeah, so I think we can leave it like that here. So just a recap what we have just covered so far. We set up an application, we create an API, we create an authentication interface to it, and in API we create the mutations, queries and subscriptions, and this we deployed it to cloud, and then we able to implement that API inside this. So we do not need to use Axios or Fetch or anything. Amplify provide that out of the box. And when we are using authentication, for that also it provide auth object, and with this we can use .login, .signup, all of that method, and to fetch the detail of the user, and it uses JWT, I believe. And same for storage. So we do not need to use pre-signed URL and all that stuff, and because Amplify manage all of the credentials itself and access control with that. So it's very much easy to use AWS services along with that, and also we can create Lambda functions with this as well. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it I have for this session. So you guys can ask any questions if you have. Why to pick Amplify or Netlify? Okay, so I think I explained that in the beginning, and also at the end also we see that AWS has a lot of flexibility over Netlify. So or is only me who just use Netlify for continuous deployment, and with Amplify we have access to all of the AWS services. We can use this API, storage, authentication, everything out of the box, so we do not need to set it up separately. Yeah, I think that's why, because it's a complete package. We can have front and back end both in a single repo in a managed way. Is that answer your question, Rajan?
Yes, thanks.
Okay, I'm stop sharing and I'm turning my camera on. Okay, so I'm listening to your questions, guys. You can unmute yourself and you can ask any questions if you guys have. What would be the difference in terms of price point? I think it have the same price policy as we know. It's in like the how much resources you are using, you will be billed based on that. Yeah, the free tier is there. So like so far I'm using just the free tier, so I do not have any live users at the moment. So yeah, it's working fine with the free tier. No, it's using DynamoDB Pinto. So, and I haven't used REST. I used GraphQL most of the time, and I don't think so we can use any other database with this, or I'm not sure about it, because I'm not sure about it because I haven't get any option, or I haven't get any requirement to choose any relational database or any other database. No. I like Windows, or if I want I will switch to Mac that I have, but I do not like working Linux much, because I need to work on Photoshop and Premiere and video editing stuff as well, so I prefer to work in Windows or Mac, not in Linux. Yeah, definitely migration will be tough, but as far as I worked on many projects in my past 1 or 2 years, so we are using S3 bucket for storing our data most of the time. And so what authentication, for authentication we generally use, we create our own solution every time. So for that also I think it's very convenient. We can create groups and we can manage user inside group, and it also provide federated login for Facebook, Google and all. So I feel this is great. But yeah, so as with GCP also, like, so they try to go provide you all of the tools so that you will stick with them for most of the services. And for some of the tools where I was exploring ML AI services of AWS, so in that also it's very helpful. So I do not need to manage the credential and all that stuff. Amplify do that for me. So yeah, I think if we do not use this, and still JWT is absent, if you remember correctly, you mentioned it's being using JWT. Yeah, I'm not be sure about that. JWT is there one option, and there is other option as well, for sure, because I'm sure AWS not going to use any obsolete technology. Yeah, it's I know it's based on us. If we want to migrate, we will migrate eventually, because whatever service we are using, like authentication, hosting, APIs, that's all managed in backend and API separately. So your code base is intact. So the backend is like is your API and authentication mechanism. So whenever you want to migrate to it, you can take your source code and then you can just change the services for it if you want to migrate. For authentication, it also provides some other options, Rishabh, like we see OpenID is there, IAM is there. So I saw some of the comparison videos and I found it better than Firebase. Reasons, I will share the video with you.
Sorry, am I messaging too much?
Yeah, I will share the video with you.
Okay.
Okay, so we hit the time. So do you guys have any other questions, or we can wind up this session? I will share the link to slides, to resources, to the source code in the comments in our meetup event, so you can take it from there. And thank you everyone for joining in. Bye bye.
Cool.
Have a great day.
Thank you for the session, Sarah.
Bye bye.
Have a good day, everyone.
Have a good day.